My name is Joanna Schaefer, and this research explores the role corporations play in promoting digital authoritarianism and transnational repression. The U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence has identified digital authoritarianism and transnational repression as a threat to national security through the publication of the Annual Threat Assessment. However, this assessment assigns culpability to foreign adversaries like the People's Republic of China in lieu of prosecuting the corporations, including U.S. companies, that enable this threat. This lack of corporate responsibility is mirrored in domestic and international law when pursuing accountability for censorship, fictitious reporting, and online suppression. In 2018, the Cambridge Analytica scandal exposed the dangers of allowing lax regulations for social media companies. A whistleblower divulged that a London based firm known as Cambridge Analytica had acquired the personal information of over 87 million Facebook users leading up to the 2016 US presidential election. This information was wielded to compile comprehensive psychological profiles that determined a user's susceptibility to manipulation and suggestion. Applying the Ocean method, which measures openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, Cambridge Analytica leveraged this information to target susceptible users with aggressive political ads and malicious misinformation that propagated the Republican nominee for president. The nominee won the 2016 bid, becoming the 45th President of the United States. While the impact of these actions on the outcome of the election cannot be explicitly established, they have raised serious ethical concerns regarding social media companies, both in how they handle sensitive user data and how their algorithms decide what information to promote, especially when that information is inaccurate or misleading. The Federal Trade Commission levied a $5 billion fine, the largest in history, against Facebook for user privacy violations. Still, policymakers have expressed concern over the influence social media and digital forums wield, given their widespread consumption as news sources and the discretion these companies have in moderating content. Several intergovernmental organizations and non-governmental organizations are monitoring the private entities responsible for enabling authoritarianism and suppression online. Transparency International employs their Corruption Perceptions Index to measure vulnerabilities for affected populations in cyberspace, while also advocating for the removal of fiscal incentives that embolden social media companies to propagate digital repression and censorship. The Human Rights Committee investigates human rights violations under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and examines individually reported privacy violations. The Global Network Initiative monitors authoritarian censorship and repressive action through scholarly, legislative, and technical frameworks to safeguard human rights in cyberspace. Finally, the United Nations Global Compact is dedicated to enforcing corporate responsibility and ethical practices, making policy recommendations to improve existing international law. While it has not yet entered into force, the United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime 2024 is the most feasible avenue for enforcing higher ethical standards from social media companies. It builds on the accomplishments of the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime by establishing the same legal standards worldwide, while also allowing for private entities to be held accountable for malfeasance when acting on behalf of a member state. Through collaboration with watchdogs like Transparency International and the Human Rights Committee, and specialized organizations like the Global Network Initiative and the UN Global Compact, prosecutors can establish corporate culpability for systemic violations of human rights in cyberspace and malicious intent to promote digital authoritarianism and transnational repression. As an additional safety measure, U.S. state constitutions have more robust free speech protections than the U.S. Constitution. During Pruneyard Shopping Center v. Robbins, 1980, the California Supreme Court ruled that Pruneyard Shopping Center had violated the free speech of their patrons by refusing to allow them to distribute pamphlets at the shopping center. The court ruled that the shopping center acted as a public forum, and as such, they could not infringe on the free speech of their patrons. Using this case as precedence, social media companies could be held accountable for undue censorship. While they are entitled to certain discretions as private entities, they are providing free public forums online. Prosecutors may be able to leverage this case to block discriminatory censorship methods that promote authoritarianism.